Good evening and welcome to episode 1 of Que-stead-Que. What you gonna do? I don't know, but something's gonna grow. It's the Que-stead show. Good evening, everyone. My name is Q, and I call myself Que-stead-Que. I've been doing videos for 2 years now, actually 3. But I just decided to move my operation over to YouTube. I am by no means a professional, so you're not gonna get that. But you will get to know me a little bit and about my Que-stead, as I call it. Actually, it's just an urban homestead or an urban home that I decided to do my gardening in, but I plant a lot of perennials, bushes. I want what you would call a food forest. It's going to take years for me to build it up. The purpose of this channel is for those like me who are lower income, is to show that even if you have a low income, if you're disabled, you can still make this work. I believe in growing my own food, my own vegetables during the summertime. I'm in the state of Michigan, so my growing season is short. I did buy a little ghetto greenhouse, so that lengthened my growing season by 2 months. I can start my seeds out there in April like I did this year, and then the plants that I have in there, I can continue to let them grow until late October, early November. So the plants that I have outside, which you can see that are up on the tables there, those will be moved into the greenhouse in September once it begins to get cold and once we have our first frost, or right before our first frost. So I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit. So even though I'm lower income, I just go a little bit at a time. I don't expect everything to happen overnight. In fact, I've lived here in this home since July 15th, 2021. And it'll be my 2nd year here. And I'm just now starting to scratch the surface. Let me tell you about the former owners here. Actually, the whole story itself is just kind of miraculous. I had purchased my very first home at the age of 54 back in 2017. I had rented for years and years. I never thought I could purchase a home, and then especially being disabled and on a fixed income, it was just no way. My late mother suffered a massive stroke back in 2013. And after 9 months of she being in the nursing home by force, that's a long story, but after 9 months, I was able to get her out of the nursing home after I went through training of how to care for her. And so I was my mom's caregiver for approximately 7 years. She passed away 3 days before my birthday, she passed on July 11th, 2020, right in the smack dab middle of the pandemic. And that was stressful. And then I got sick afterwards, but I'm skipping ahead. Okay, but the home that I'm in now, okay, the home that I was in at the time, that's where my mom passed, and I had no plans on ever moving from that home. It was a smaller home, but it was conducive for her health needs at the time when I purchased it. So I was just happy to be able to purchase a home because I did not think that I could do it credit-wise, money-wise, or anything else. Okay, so God blessed me with that home because when my mother was forced or trafficked into the nursing home, she lost everything she owned. My mom and my late father had owned their home for over 50, close to 60 years. My father, he passed away in 2000. My mother lost the home because when she was put into the nursing home, she could not own any assets. So we had to let the home go. She lost her vehicle. She lost everything. And so when I was able to get a home, it was just God restoring what my mother had lost, because I had vowed that she would never go back to a nursing home, and I would not allow that to happen again. And the reason why she went briefly is because the hospital she was in following the stroke allowed her to get a bed sore on her. It was called a coccus bed sore. It comes right in between the crack of the behind, and they let it go all the way to the bone. And in order for her to come home, someone had to be trained in caring for a wound. I had never worked in the medical field, so she had, by law, she had to go to the nursing home. And my now late brother, he died 2 years after her stroke, but at the time he was her durable power of attorney, and they forced him to have her placed into the nursing home. When I tell you the whole story behind that, in fact, I plan to write a book about it. I began the book, but every time I start the book on the computer, I get sick, something happens. So I finally just stopped. I've taken a break for a year on writing that book, because the book itself is going to be informational for anyone who gets caught in the situation that my siblings and I were caught up in with our mother, and with my caregiving journey with her, about resources that are available to you, that type of thing. That's what my book is about. But for some reason, I get sick every time I start to write the book, and I have a feeling that that is God's way of showing me, no, I'm not ready for you to write that book yet. Hold tight. There's more to it. And I truly believe that. So I'm just waiting right now. I'm still, I've got all the information. I've done my notes. I've got everything that's needed for the book, but I just haven't had the opportunity to write it yet. And I'll pray about it some more and ask God, okay, I told him, when you're ready for me to write it, let me know. And I'm quite sure that he will do that. But in the meantime, I've ventured off once again, and you all will find that I will do that quite a bit during my videos. If something hits me, I'm going to start talking about it. Okay, so back to the original part of the story. So I had no intentions of moving out of that house, and I got a call. I was fishing one day, and I do like to fish, so y'all see that in the content too eventually. But I was fishing one day, and I got a call right out of the blue from my mortgage company, and they told me, they said, Miss Davis, we don't know if you're interested in refinancing your home. They said, but if you do want to do that, this is the time to do it. I said, heck yes. I was like, because my mother passed a few months ago, and now I'm down to just my income, and I need to lower this house payment if I can. So they were like, okay. They said, we're going to run the numbers, and we'll call you back tomorrow and let you know exactly what the numbers would be and how much your house payment would be lowered by should you refinance. So I said, okay, thank you. Went on back to fishing. Next day, they called me and they told me what the number would be. So the lady said, out of curiosity, I decided to run the numbers. She said, you know that this is a seller's market. She said, and I decided to run the numbers based on the comps in your neighborhood where you live now, and how much you could possibly get for your current home if you were to sell it. She said, when I ran that, she said, I can see you easily getting a profit of $50,000 or more on your home, because it's a seller's market and the value of your home has increased significantly. I was like, tell me more. So she started telling me about it. She was like, do you have a realtor? I said, yes, I do. I would use the same realtor that I used when I purchased this home. She said, contact your realtor and let her know that you may possibly be interested in selling your home, and she can take it from there. I did that the next day, and my realtor said, it's such a hot market. She said, I have a buyer for your home now. She said, I have people in my repertoire who are lined up waiting for a home to come on the market. She said, you don't even have to put your home on the market. She said, I know the perfect person who would buy your home. She's a single lady, blah, 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 just like you. She's just looking for a small 2-bedroom starter home, and she has a budget, and she's ready to go. She's pre-approved and everything. Can I bring her by your home tomorrow? Sure. She brought the lady, and the lady made an offer right there on the spot. So that was that. But she made a fatal mistake. She applied for a credit card during the course of us going through our thing of me selling the home, because I accepted her offer. In fact, the offer she made me was going to get me a profit of about $70,000, okay? So anyway, when she made that fatal error, it fell through. So then we did have to put my home on the market, but it did sell pretty quick. And so once I got an offer on my home, it did give me a nice profit. I would say it was over 40,000. So I thought that was great. So in the meantime, my realtor said, now you have to find a home. I was like, that's the scary part. I was like, because now with it being a seller's market, I said, my budget is only the amount that I'm going to get profit from my home, because I have to pay my home off. So I had to use, well, actually, yeah, the profit plus what I had. And so, okay, however it went, my budget was actually more than what it was. It was more for the second home than what it was for the first home. So she was like, well, I'll get the MLSs filled out and sent to you, and we'll go from there. And so my sister was like, what are you going to do? Because my realtor was telling me, she said, listen, she was like, I've got people now staying in motels because until they can find a home. And so I didn't want that to happen to me. So I said, God would not have put me here in this spot if he wasn't going to get me a home. So I decided to step out on faith, and I told her, send me that MLS and I'll look at these homes that's on the thing, and we'll go from there and see what happens. So the very first home that caught my eye was the home that I'm living in now. First, it caught my eye, and I told her I would like to see that home. And so when I came to the home, they had my home overpriced by $20,000. The highest comp in this particular neighborhood was $20,000 less. So she's like, they're going to have to come down on the price, because it's no way that this home is going to sell for this much. She's like, that's probably why it's been on the market for a while. I told my realtor, I said, I'm going to use a strategy. I said, I'm quite sure people have been lowballing on this home because they knew the comps. So their realtor probably told them, only be it no higher than what the comp for the neighborhood is. I told her I want to use a strategy because, oh, let me back up again. I walked into this home, and as soon as I walked into the home, I said, this is it, write it up. She was like, you haven't even looked through the home yet. I said, this is it, write it up. I was like, now, let me go on and tour it. This home, it's three things I've always wanted in a home. And as I toured the home, this home had it, the three things that I've always wanted. I've always wanted a fireplace. I've always wanted a laundry room, not just a place to do the laundry. I've always wanted a room where I can actually do my laundry and make it look nice and all that. And the third thing I've always wanted was a dining room. This home had all three. The second thing about this home, it was totally handicapped accessible. I have severe health issues. I have multiple sclerosis. I have lupus, a million other autoimmune diseases. I had Crohn's and colitis, and I eventually had to get an ostomy. That's a long story. That happened right after my mother passed, and that was an emergency surgery. But I already knew that it was coming, so it didn't bother me, and I had learned everything about it. And thank God it saved my life, and thank God I knew how to care for it. It's like I didn't miss a beat, other than the fact that I almost died. But once I realized I was going to live, I didn't miss a beat after that. I'm just skipping all over the place. I just got so much to say, but let me try to stay on track. Okay, so the home was written up, and the strategy that I used was I decided to offer full price. And so I'm not going to, announce the price of the home or anything, but believe me, it wasn't that much. But, because I'm in the ghetto, remember that. But anyway, but it's a nice home. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice home. But anyway, I said, I'm going to offer full price. I was called by family and different ones. They were like, why would you offer full price? I said, because it was a strategy. I said, if I offer full price, that means that's the highest, because they had some more offers in at the time. I said, I know that I have the highest offer unless someone else used the same strategy. I said, and if that's the case, I have a few thousand where I can go up if it turns into a bidding war. I said, and then if I don't get it, I don't get it. I said, but I have a feeling that this is the home that God has for me. And so, as it turns out, the other two offers were low balls, and I won out because I offered the full asking price. I said, now, I was like, I don't know why no one else thought of that. I said, because once the inspection happens and once the appraisal happens, they're going to have to come down because it's going to appraise lower than what they asked for it. And it did. Okay, so anyway, so we started. So my home was found, and then my home was in the middle. So, you know, that all that stuff takes a month, you know, to a month and a half. So I closed on my home first, and then we closed on this home the very next day. And so that's how that worked out. So here I was, here at the Que-stead, okay? Okay, now let's get to the other part of the story. Okay, so like I said, my mother had passed in July of 2020. She passed away July 11, 2020. Now, the owners of this home passed away in November. It was November the 11th, July, August, September, October. They passed exactly 4 months later on November 11th of the same year. And I remember I was sick at the time because I was in and out of the hospital after my mother passed. The stress from her death and everything made my Crohn's act up. I was in a flare. I had been in and out of the hospital. I spent Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving of all that. And my surgery was actually January 6th of 2021. That's when I had to get the ostomy surgery, and my colon ruptured on the table. I ended up getting sepsis. I was in the hospital for 2 months. So all that had happened. And then as soon as I got out the hospital and was still recovering, that's when the house thing came up, where the people called me and I started selling. I'm telling you, why in the world? I was like, what am I doing? You know, I'm still recovering. But all that happened, and the move, all during my recovery. I'm telling you, God is good. And the help that I needed came while that was happening. Okay, so back to the beginning of the story. So the owners of this home, Mr. and Mrs. Granberry, that was their name, they had passed away on November 11th, 2020. They were driving. We're surrounded. I'm not on the lake, but there's a lake around the corner from me. There's a lake. There's 3 lakes in this neighborhood within a half-mile radius. And they were driving home, and the husband had a medical emergency. I was told a heart attack behind the wheel, lost control of the vehicle. It went into the lake because he fell on top of her. She wasn't strong enough to get him off of her. The car went off into the lake, and he had passed away from the heart attack, but they both drowned as a result. I remember that being on the news. I remember it was such a tragedy. And I can remember the day that happened, I said, here I am grieving about my mother, and I'm all upset about her. I'm sick because of it and can't seem to let go of the stress behind it. I said, and here these 2 people passed away, and their children, if they had children, which they did, they had 4. Here they have lost both of their parents suddenly and unexpectedly and tragically in one swoop. I said, so who am I to grieve about a mother that God gave me 7 extra years with after her stroke, allowed me the honor of caring for her after he called me to do so, had blessed me tremendously as a result, and then had the opportunity during the pandemic when my mother got sick and was on life support, somehow or another, even after the hospital had called us numerous times telling us, let us take her off of life support. People need these ventilators because of COVID, and they wanted us to just let her die in that hospital alone, and we said no. But God allowed her to get well enough to where they were able to put a trach in her, and she was able to come home, and she spent the last 2 months of her life home with us, surrounded by all of her grandchildren and my sister and I. And she went into hospice because they had to suspend her dialysis. And God even allowed her to live 45 days past her dialysis suspension. So we had the opportunity to say goodbye to her. We knew what was happening. She knew what was happening. And for that to happen. And then when he took her in the blink of an eye. One moment she was breathing, the next she wasn't. That was it. It was like my sister and I were standing there looking silly because my sister was brushing her hair at the time that she took her last breath and passed. So my thing was, if you could allow all of that to happen, and then these people, what just happened with these people, first of all, I prayed for their family and I prayed for them. I was like, my goodness, for them to go that way. Now, this was in November, the night that it happened. I'm saying this prayer for these people and everything. And I was like, God, just bless their family. They're going through so much. I said, but God, I'm through with the grief over my dear mother. I said, yes, I'm going to miss her, but I said, just help me. I said, I just ask that you take care of me and let me make it through the rest of my life. And I said, I thank you for the years that I had with my mom. She died 3 days before my 56th birthday, so I really couldn't complain. So that was it. I said that little prayer and went on about my business, right? So the shock it was, the day I sat down for closing, and the realtor of the people, she said, I'm here on behalf of the children of the estate. I'm like, the children of the estate? What's going on? We had no idea. This was the house that the Granberries lived in. The people that I had prayed for when they died and prayed for their children the whole night. This was the very house. All of a sudden, I wanted to hear Twilight Zone music, but I was like, no, I'm hearing heavenly violins because I know this is God. I said the Granberries and my mother got together up there, and I don't know how this is working out. I can't explain it. It's mind-boggling, but I knew that this was not just some fluke. I knew that this was it was divine intervention. That's what their realtor said, that my realtor said that, and I knew it. I said it too. I was like, this is God. I was like, okay, y'all, we sitting around this table here. I was like, but just know that this whole thing right here, this whole closing, it's God. We're just gonna go with it and let's do this. This house belonged to them. And they left so many treasures here, let me tell you. She had, they were avid gardeners. We had so much in common. She crocheted. She was an avid crocheter. I'm an avid crocheter. All this. It's just so much. And then on top of this house was totally handicapped accessible. That was the other thing about the house. This house was totally handicapped accessible. It has a walk-in shower. They had just did renovations. They had just bought a new central air unit. They had just bought a new hot water tank. They had just bought a new furnace. They had just bought a brand new $10,000 queen-size Tempur-Pedic bed. And let me tell you about that. I had bought a Tempur-Pedic 2 years before my mom passed, and I bought the cheapest one going, and I bought a full size. It was the cheapest Tempur-Pedic on full size, but I loved the bed. But I regretted it. From the day that they delivered that bed, I regretted not having a queen size. And I said, God, if you ever let me hit a number or something, I will get a queen size. Don't you know that queen size is here? Don't you know the children gave me that bed and left the receipt? Brand new bed. They had just bought it before they died. $10,000 Tempur-Pedic bed. And they bought all the bells and whistles to go with it. They bought the frame that has the drawers in it for you to keep your clothes. They had the built-in nightstands, and I'll give you a tour of the inside of the home one day to further explain. But I just wanted to let you know how all this fell into place. They gave me all that, and that was after we closed. They called back, and the realtor called and asked my realtor to call me to see if I wanted that Tempur-Pedic, that they would give it to me. And I said yes. And I knew right then and there, God even gave me the doggone bed that I wanted. So my Tempur-Pedic is in the spare bedroom, and their Tempur-Pedic that's where I'm sleeping now. And when I tell you, every night is blissful, because God knew I needed that rest, and he knew how my health was. It has been wonderful. Okay, so now I forgot where I left off. But anyway, this was their house. And so I cried the day I walked in here after closing. first of all, I had my cousin I wanted her to pray over the house, but we were over the phone, so she told me to anoint the house as she prayed. And I cried and I cried and I cried. I was like, I know. I was like, they're watching down over me. I could just feel it. This house has such a great aura to it the moment you walked into the home, and it still has that aura. I'm a firm believer in what the late Dr. Maya Angelou used to say about people bringing things into your home, or a home being in such a horrible disarray with no peace in it, that you can feel it in the walls and everything. You walk into the home, it just chokes you. Because have y'all ever walked into a home and you're just choked when you walk into that home, because you know so much has happened there. It could have been something bad that had happened there in the past, or it could be, just dysfunctional, anything. But the moment you walk in there, you're not comfortable. I've walked into homes like that. This home I walked into, it was totally peaceful, and it's still that way. I refuse to let anyone bring things into my home. I refuse. And so anyway, so it's peaceful. It's just, I just love my home. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I don't plan on leaving. The only way I'll leave here is if I hit the doggone Mega Millions or something like that and become a millionaire. And then if that's the case, I'll be moving on to a farm somewhere and hiring help to run it, because I sure can't. Okay, so anyway, that was a long introduction. We're already 30 minutes in. Okay, so let me give y'all a quick tour. But before I give y'all the quick tour, I'm going to give some shout outs. How I got into this Que-stead business, I just kind of reinvented myself. I always planned to have a garden. I love gardening. And let me tell that story real quick. How I came to love gardening was when I was 8 years old and my sister was 9. My late aunt, we have the same name, which is Que-etta. My late aunt Que-etta, who lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, she wanted to get my sister and I for a few weeks that summer to help work the community garden that she, my late grandmother, and my other late aunt had a plot in. And so she made it sound fun. She was like, I bought y'all these garden hats, and every day we're gonna work in the garden. We didn't know what a garden was, so we were all excited about it. We thinking it was something spectacular, okay? Ooh, we got there, and at Que-etta, the first night we spent the night, and that next morning she woke us up before daybreak. And she was like, okay, it's time to go to the garden. My sister and I looking at each other like, oh my goodness. So we get to the garden. It was hot. We hated every second of it. We had to work in that garden, fetch water from the well for them. And then we had to watch my little cousin Keisha, who was about a year or two at the time. So we had to do all that every day from like 6 in the morning until 12 noon. We came home at 12 noon. And we hated it. We hated it. But every night, my aunt, she cooked from the garden. She would bring home green beans or whatever was ready. She would harvest, and then she would cook it with the dinner. And we loved that food. I remember my sister and I, we just loved it. We were like, wow, we've never had green beans like this, And then she would make us a treat every night she would make us strawberry shortcakes from the strawberries she would get from the garden, that type of thing. Okay, so then after that, we came on home. We talked about how much we hated the garden, and that was the end of that. So then later on, our neighbor across the street had a garden, and she let my mother plant in the garden, and so we kids had to go and do their harvesting and stuff. We didn't like that either. Then our other neighbor had fruit trees, and so she would have the boys in our neighborhood to get the pears and apples and whatever she had growing in the fruit trees. They would climb the trees and get the fruit down. She would make preserves every year, and she gave everybody preserves. Everybody shared. And then those on our street who had gardens, they would can, and then we would share. We were a self-determined neighborhood. We were poor, but this is how we did it year after year. And we kids were expected to work. And so we did that. And we didn't like it, but we did it. And we had fun. All of us kids together doing that. Of course we had fun. We just didn't like to work and being out in that hot sun. But we liked the end result of it, So once we all got grown, every last one of us, the neighbors, everybody, we all garden. My sister gardens, I garden. It's a passion for me. And that's because the seed was planted for us to do that, to grow our own food. And we knew the value of it and how it tasted and all that stuff. So I've been gardening ever since. But I didn't start gardening until I finally got a home, which was back in 2017. I mean, I had tried little things. I would plant a few containers of something and nothing ever worked out, you know, in apartments and stuff. You know, it just didn't work out because, you know, it would be too hot. Plus, during the time I worked, I didn't have time to really care for it. But I didn't get serious about gardening until I got a house. So now I'm serious about it. So this one evolved into what I call the Que-stead, because I was just gonna plant, you know, just do a garden. And when I got here, and with the lake, we've got animals. We've got raccoons over here. In fact, I'm gonna show y'all my neighbor across the street. There's a trap sitting right on his roof right now. They're trying to get a raccoon that crashed through his ceiling 2 days ago. We've got raccoons. I have groundhogs that were living under my deck. The first year I had cats galore because this house had sat empty, you know, for a few months, so the cats had taken over. And so they finally left. But then I had a cat, a barn cat. He just showed up last year. I named him Muley. He showed up last June, and that cat stayed with me throughout the winter this year and everything. He's gone now. I don't know what happened to him. He must have died, because he would leave and then he would always come back after a day or two, because I fed him and I had a little bed for him. I set him right here on this deck. I set up him a little cat house and everything, and I don't even like cats. But that cat, he kept the other critters away, and he was a friendly cat. And so I went on, I was like, okay, you've earned your keep here, so you can stay. And he was everybody loved Muley. And I've got pictures of him. In fact, on my profile picture here, you'll see Muley sitting in my garden table last year. He was a little tuxedo cat. Okay, so anyway, so I don't know how I got off the subject, but okay, before I start the tour, let me give a few people some shout outs. Although I know y'all I think I only have 7 subscribers, and I don't know how I got those, but hello, 7 subscribers. And I hope y'all pass this on if you see this. If this comes up in the algorithm and you happen to watch this boring video that's all over the place, go on and share it anyway and tell people that Que-stead-Que has finally arrived. Okay, and I'm telling y'all now, I don't know nothing about editing. A cousin said she would help me. I don't know anything about YouTube or anything, so do not expect this to be professional. Now, if somebody want to give me a sponsorship, I'll do a commercial for you. Oh, I can read the pages off a book for you. Okay, so therefore, you know, I'm willing to promote your item as long as it's something that is appropriate and whatnot, and I will do it. Okay, but anyway, let me give some shout outs. All these, and this isn't even all of them. I have a list here of a whole bunch that I'm gonna read off to you. But believe me, I'm subscribed to a million other channels, but these are some of the ones. These are the ones I watch on a daily basis and look for them to post so I can watch. So I spend a lot of my time, if I'm not out here piddling around, I'm in there watching YouTube, and I take everything that the homesteaders and whatnot say, and I try to incorporate that into what I'm doing, and it has made me a much better gardener, I believe. Okay, so let me give my shout outs, and this is not in any particular order. It's just that I wrote it down when I went down my subscription list. I think it went in order as to who I subscribed to first, and so I'm just going to read it, but it's no order of importance. Everybody is just an important, and I did not write them all down because you think I've been on for 34 minutes now. I would be on for a lot longer if I wrote down every name, but I wrote down these today, and I'm gonna read them off, and some I'm gonna stop and explain some things about. Got Lead Farmer 73. Hey there, Lead and Lady Lead. I'm subscribed to their channel. Homestead Heart Girl Marie. Oh man, you have helped me a great deal, and I'm scared of canning, but this year I'm gonna try to water bath and can some peppers. Okay, that's as far as I can go, but I am afraid of canning, and I know you always say don't be afraid, but I'm afraid. Cog Hill Farms, The Smiths, that's Granger Smith, the country singer, and his wife, Amber, Arms Family Homestead. Hey, Houston. Hey, Daniel. Hey. And I'm also subscribed to a DJ's channel, Do Your Best, and Weston. I just love you guys to death. I watch you all the time, and you're from my mother's home state of Oklahoma. She's from, you all are from Sulphur. She was from Sapulpa, Appalachia Homestead. I got turned on to her through Homestead Heart, Suburban Homestead XYZ. She is the one who I learned how to make vanilla from, and I just love her channel. Hey, she comes on every Monday night with the live. The Veggie Boys, they run a family farm, and I just love their channel. The Veggie Boys and their cousin Joel with A Stable Life, they run the horse operations from the farm. They all work together, excuse me, as a family. A Beautiful Nest, Home and Garden. Amish America. Don't sleep on the Amish, y'all. The Amish people, I like the order that they have to everything that they do. They do everything with excellence. And so I watch some of these Amish channels just to get ideas. Don't sleep on the Amish. Okay, Jeff Horchoff Bees. I love Jeff. Oh my goodness. The Bull's Garden. Deep South Homestead. And I bet a lot of these folks, y'all, if any of y'all listening, y'all have heard of them. Epic Gardening, Faith Family Homestead, Frugal Woolly May. She hasn't posted in 2 months, so I'm kind of concerned about her. But sometimes she'll take a long hiatus, and then she'll pop back with a slew of videos. But I hope that she's okay, because she's up in age. Gartner Scott, Gardening with Leon. He's another one who disappeared for a while, but now he's back with his Sunday devotionals and gardening tips. I love Gardening with Leon. Grow Family Network, Hollis and Nancy's Homestead. Oh, I love Hollis and Nancy. Just a Few Acres Farm. Lady Cheryl. Girl, you one of my favorite ones, especially that song you sing at the beginning. I come to my garden. Girl, you as bad as me with my Que-stead-Que song. Okay, Mama Bear Homestead and Mama Bear Prepping. M.I. Gardner, he's right here in Michigan. I'm going to go visit his store one day. Permapasture's Farm. And Mr. Permapasture, if you ever see this, I have what I didn't know. It's a hill right here. And when you talk about the swells, I call it a swell because that's exactly what I can make out of it. Water pools at the bottom of it. And I've got a volunteer. I had a blackberry bush that I had in the ground one year, and I decided to pull it up by the root, and now my blackberry bush is in a container. Now every year I get a voluntary blackberry bush right there in the swell, so I'm gonna show it to y'all during the tour. Okay, Rain Country, Robbie and Gary, they're in California. I haven't watched them too much lately, but I'm still subscribed because come winter I will be watching them because they are, excuse me y'all, I'm by an airport, so it's an airplane coming in. Robbie and Gary, they're in California, so they garden year round. So my southern homesteaders, usually they get started in February, you know, and everything. But Robbie and Gary, they're usually gardening during the winter months. So during the winter months, y'all, ooh, Robbie, I be so happy. Sometimes you come on there 3-4 times a day with your stuff, and I be watching faithfully, dreaming of the moment I can get started. And thank you for the idea about Tool, because I use that. And then also the gardening channel with James Prigioni and his little dog Tuck. I love that little dog. Okay, so that's my shout outs for the day, and I will add the others as time go on. So let's start the tour because I'm trying to keep this at under an hour. Okay, I've got my water here. Oh, another thing, there's no stairs to this home. This is the highest step I have. This and those 3 steps coming off the deck. And if I want to step off the porch part of the deck, but I can, if I want to roll in a wheelchair, I can do that right there. I can roll out the door, the front or the back. We're in the back right now, and excuse the mess. I did blow back here, but my neighbor's tree, he's getting it cut down this year, and I'm praying that he do, because if that thing fall during a storm, I'll be moving again. Okay, but anyway, it's causing problems because it's blowing leaves and everything else. But anyway, this is my little deck. Let me back up a little bit. This is my little deck, and then it expands. The whole porch expands all the way across. Okay, and then I have the patio. I put a picnic table there. And those 3 black tables back there are my gardening tables. We'll get back there in a minute. So this is my driveway. And like I said, the former owners, the late Granberries, they left so many. They had perennials all over the place. So they come up every year. And this is the first year that I've actually cleaned out these flower beds and stuff. So I look forward to seeing what they produce. This is a lilac tree. The blooms have since died, and that flower came up back in April. Excuse the mess. He built this bench right here, and all the pillows were left, and there was one in the front. I gave the bench up front to my cousin because I have a bench back there, and then I have this bench that I was sitting on, and then my cousin's about to give me a swing, so I gave her the bench that was up front because I really don't sit up front, but this is the bench. I need to do some more cleaning. Y'all know with my health, I can't just get out here. So I come out here every day and do something, and it's finally starting to, I can see that it's starting to take shape because it's looked bad for the past 2 years, okay? And then I cut my own grass too, for the most part. Okay, so this is some radish, a horseradish that I ordered, and I put it in a container, and I did that to hopefully deter animals, and so far so good. And I'm gonna put my Cushaw squash from Homestead Hearts squash challenge over here in the next few days. That's my little mint that comes back every year. And these are experimental potatoes that I planted this year. They're the Irish way. I planted the potatoes in September of last year, and they did come up this year. So we're gonna see what we get. Okay, this is my ghetto greenhouse, as I call it. Okay, this is my ghetto greenhouse. I bought that for, I think I paid like $100 for it. And it put me in a different zone. It took me from being in zone 6, which is Michigan. It took me up to zone, I think 8. So I'm comparable to Tennessee. So it bought me an extra couple of months. This is my little barbecue station. And yeah, it's messed up because I won't be using the smoker this year. Shoot, food is too expensive. I'll let my sister do the barbecuing. So here I got some extra dirt. Okay, so now let me tell you, Homestead Heart announced her Cushaw squash challenge about a month ago. I had started some Cushaw squash back in April, and I mean, my plant was looking good. Messed around and put it in the greenhouse and had covered it because we were supposed to get a frost that night. Forgot to uncover it that next day and killed it. So I had to start a new seed when she announced the challenge. So here's the Cushaw right here. So it's coming along, and that's gonna go in the ground because I know that Cushaw it'll get too big for it to stay in this little container. I can leave it in there, but I don't want to risk it. I want it in the ground where it can really get big, especially if no animals are gonna mess with it. This is my patty pan squash here. That's not going to go into the ground, but I am going to separate because the two seeds both germinated. So I am going to separate the 2 plants. And how I plant is I do the container because of the animals and stuff. And then I have these tables and stuff to put my stuff up high, and so animals don't usually bother it. I might get a squirrel or a bird, but they don't usually eat anything. But what I did was I ordered the 25-gallon, or it's either, no, the 10-gallon poly bags, and I got milk crates. And see, when you pour and you garden, I got those milk crates for free. I just went around to the different stores, and this one store owner said, he begged me. He was like, I got so, he had hundreds of milk crates back there. I made about 20 trips, and I ended up getting over 80 milk crates. And I ordered those poly bags and lined them. This was last year, and my garden did very well. So that's how I do my container gardening, and I did it at 0 cost with the exception of the bags. Okay, so this is my regular squash, and as you can see, I have squash flowers and no females yet. So that means I'm not getting any squash until I get some female flowers in there. All male flowers over here too. And I just put this stuff out last week. All this stuff was still in the cup. The growth was restricted. As soon as I put this stuff out in the containers, they just took off in 1 week. My lawnmower stuff. Oh, gopher killer. And it killed them all right, didn't it? Because I had put the pellets out. I guess that wasn't enough for them, so they decided to go into the thing. They ate through the whole thing. Look at that. And so they're now dead. Okay, and then I made up some pepper spray, and so I've been spraying my leaves with that, and that's kept things, you know, under control. So here's my cucumber, and I think I got a female flower coming. Let's see. Wait a minute here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got a female flower. And I had a male flower in there. Okay, yep, there's the male. Okay, so look like I'm about to get some cucumbers, and I need to move this trellis up a little bit. Okay, so, but this is one cucumber plant. This one is another cucumber plant. This here is in the cucumber family. This is called Korean melon. And I got that idea from Hollis and Nancy. It's a fruit. And then my eggplant, I cut that to the nub a few weeks ago. And then I planted jambalaya squash in here, and then I've got some in the greenhouse too. In fact, this is going to be moved to the greenhouse later on. That little lima bean is still there, but I need to move that. These 3 tables were always used for my crowder peas and green beans. This year, I could not use these tables because some animal, as you can see right there, would dig up everything every single day. Every time I tried to plant, I could not do it, so I just let it go. So I said I was gonna put this hardwire cloth across the tables, but I'm gonna just leave it be. You know, I think in a year, I'll be able to use it next year, the tables, so they needed a rest anyway. I'm gonna clean them out real good, get them repainted again, and go from there. This is another one of the flower beds. And then tomorrow, I'm coming out with my tree trimmer thing, and I'm gonna get all this loose tree from in the fence over, that's hanging over, all that down there. Okay, so let's come over here to the other. Now this is the future home of my second greenhouse. First of all, I have, you see I have the leaves I'm raking every day, and those were actually flowers, and they're starting to come back up. I just took the lawnmower and just cut that mess because I'm gonna lay some of that tarp down, and that's gonna be probably next year. I'm gonna lay the tarp down to block off the weeds and the perennial flowers that come up along there, and the second greenhouse is gonna be in this location because that's too much wasted space. Tomorrow I will be cutting all that brush down. It's gonna look so much better once I get that brush cut. And then he has a blackberry bush. See that tree right there? That's a blackberry tree. And so when the blackberries come, now I won't be cutting that. When the blackberries come, I will be a picking, and then I'll cut it like I did last year. Okay, this is my, okay, first of all, Mr. Granberry, he set up his little water thing, so when it rains, and we're going through a drought right now, when it rains, it comes down the chute and it goes in and it waters the flowers here. So I got to clean out this bed. I'm gonna bring my wet dry vac out, and I'm gonna vacuum up some of these leaves that are here because I'm sick of raking. I just raked the other day and I need to rake again. This is my little water filtration. So whenever it rains, I collect rainwater, and this thing here has a spout at the bottom. It used to have a top to it, but it busted when I dropped the thing. But it has a spout at the back, so I can get the water out through the spout, or I can just dip a cup in it and get rainwater out. But it hasn't rained, so until I get some rain, and I need to clean it. This is my compost station. Okay, so let me show it to you. It's looking bad right now. Oh, but it was working good. But I just threw some, leaves in there, and I have more leaves to throw in there. But in fact, I need to turn it. I have my holes. I have holes at the bottom. I have holes on the side. I have holes at the top, and it is working. And it's starting to break down because this was almost overly full. So this part is the leaves that I raked the other day, and then the rest of them are in there. And then some mulch. But underneath that is dirt. And I've been putting fish guts. I put, okay, it's not hot. That's good. But I need to get some water to it. I'll do that later on today. I need to wet it down to keep it, you know, because that helps it to start breaking down because it's been so dry. So I'll do that later on today when I water. Okay, then I keep the rock there because, like I said, animals. And then I've got this. This will go in next. Or either, I think I'm going to buy another garbage can because I've got room. How much room did I have, okay? I'm going to put these pallets. I'm going to set those pallets across. And I'm going to actually get 2 more garbage cans because I get so many leaves and microbes and stuff like that. I can actually have 3 of those compost things going. So this is my first one. I started this like a month ago. So I'm going to get another one probably in the next couple of weeks and get that started because I have backups. You know, I have backup stuff that I need to put in there. I may as well because I got room for it. Okay, and like I said, this is going to eventually be the home of the second greenhouse. I'll get the stuff down and then get the greenhouse, and it'll be a hoop tunnel type of greenhouse. And then I've got this little area back here behind the tables. Okay, so let's go to the greenhouse. They left this little storage bin, so I got all my little yard games in there and all kind of little storage stuff. And then there's, let me show you the shed. This is where I keep the lawnmower and all that. Hoping ain't no animal in there. Wait, I'm always watching. So I keep all my stuff in there and a lot of gardening things and more pallets and all that. So, yep, so that's that. And yes, I have a lock for it, but it's just not locked right now. And then over here, I have some more junk. So I have this little area over here. So this is another little flower bed. I need to trim this tree again. And I just trimmed this tree a month ago. Look at it. It's right back. I trimmed it in March, so it's been 2 months. But look at that. And then I've got a tree right there. So I'm gonna get over here and trim some more. And my wood piling up. So I use some of it for the fire pit on the patio. But I don't sit back here that often. And then I got a flower bed back there that I need to work on because I see a lot of weeds and volunteer trees in there. So I can pull that up so that when the flowers get ready to bloom later this summer, it'll look pretty. And then this is a bench. My sister bought me this for my birthday a couple of years ago, and I see the birds have been having a good time. Here's the swell, y'all. This is that little hill, and I call it a swell. Look at the bird. I get so many birds and stuff back here. But this is what I call the swell. Whenever it rains, the water pools up, and I said, I can dig a trench right here and let that water pool and use that as a little garden area. So last year, I did an experiment, and you can see, I planted tomatoes here, and I got good tomatoes too. Here is my voluntary, okay, bird, I hear you. Here's my voluntary blackberry bush right here. I had a blackberry bush there, and I dug it up, and every year a volunteer come back. I just gave my sister 2 nice blackberry bushes that had come up volunteer, and I started them and grew them, and she came and got them the other day because I have enough. But I'm gonna dig that one up, or I might just leave it there. I don't know. I need to get along that fence with the weed whacker. I've been working on that. Like I said, I just work a little bit at a time. Then when I get tired, I stop. But I need to get down further. Okay, these 2 pear trees. I bought these last year at Home Depot. They were on clearance. I think I paid $5 for this one. Anyway, they were looking bad, and they didn't do anything last year. So I cut them down to the nub. So they came back, and I got them fertilized and everything. Took care of them. This one didn't do anything other than pollinate. This one, this year I got pears. There's a pear there. I've got pears up top. There's one right there. So I think I counted about 12 pears. It's not many, but I'm thankful because I didn't think the trees were gonna live, but they did. The plum tree didn't, but Then I bought this tree as a baby, this peach tree, and you can see I got the netting on the trees because of the birds. But I bought this tree as a baby. It has tripled its size since I bought it. It was just a little stick. Look what I got. I've got peaches on it this year. So I must be doing something right, because I've never really tried to deal with trees. My sister bought me that little blueberry, and then in there is a raspberry. It didn't have I'm waiting on it to come up through the dirt because it was just a root. Okay, so let's go in the greenhouse, y'all. I've got these bricks here just in case an animal come. Want no animal to have easy access. So let's come into the greenhouse. And it's cool today. It's only 70 in here, but it's cool outside because we are expecting rain. That's my barometer. It gives me the barometric pressure, tells me what the weather is and whether or not we're going to have rain or storms. And that thing is very accurate. It's actually a Wittenauer. I got that thing off of eBay, I think, and it was like only a few dollars because it was broken. I messed around and fixed it. And so when I fixed it, it's been working ever since. And then I've got a little thermometer here that tells me the temperature. Usually if the sun is shining and it's hot, last week we were in the 90s, so every day it was over 120 in here every single day. But we've had a real nice streak of weather since Sunday, so it's averaging between, earlier today it was 80 in here, right now it's 70. Okay, so here's the green beans. Some of them I started from seeds after I lost my other green bean plants in the bed, so I restarted seeds. It wasn't too late. These are the only two that I still had that I started back in April from seed, so those are flowering now. And then the rest of these I just started a week and a half ago, and we got one coming up again. I've got one more that's due to come. The rest of them have already sprouted and they're going to catch up. I put my little trellis up there. This is my Crowder peas, and then I have a few yellow beans in there, so we'll see how they do. This is a fig tree that I bought at Lowe's. It's a LSU purple fig. So I'm doing an experiment. This one here, I'm not doing anything to other than I'm gonna put it in a 5-gallon grow bag, just like I did this fig tree. That's another LSU fig that I bought at Lowe's. So, and that one I pitched, so I'm gonna see if I get some figs, but they both are growing. I've had them, that one I've had a month. This one I've had like a week, and both of them have just grown since I've had it. So they'll stay in the greenhouse all summer, and then I'm gonna leave them in here until late November, early December. I'm gonna let them go dormant. Then I'm gonna bring them in the house because I don't want them to die. I'm gonna bring them both into the house and keep them in the back room, and then I'm gonna wake them up in February under the grow light. I'm gonna start using the grow light to wake them up and taking care of them in the house, and then next spring I'll bring them out, and hopefully next year I'll get some figs. Okay, this is celery. I'm growing celery for the first time. This here, I don't know what this is. It was like off to the side, so I just threw it in there with the celery. And I got this celery. I decided to grow it. I'm not even a celery eater, but I decided to grow it after a beautiful nest mentioned that celery is just so good grown as opposed to just the store-bought, and it's coming along really well. It looks good. Yep. And then I have some, get that volunteer tree out of there. I have cauliflower. I've never grown cauliflower before, so we'll see. This is some peppers. I pinched those off, but these are some sweet banana, sweet Cuban nail, and I have some hot peppers up front. But I pinched these to try to get a bushier plant. I have some Swiss chard there. Over here, this is some loofah. I decided since I'm in this greenhouse, and if it gets hot, and it's taking off the loofah, so I'm gonna see how that works out. That's a onion from the refrigerator, and I see it's gone to seed. It's been out here for 2 months. I put it out on the 2nd of April. I put it out here in the greenhouse. So I'm gonna just let it go to seed or whatever, and then I'm gonna pull it up and see what it looks like. I don't know what this is, but it has a flower on it. That's from last year. And then that one over there is empty back there. And then this was supposed to be a cranberry plant I got from Starks a year ago. It's just there. I water it because it's green, so I'll see what happens. Okay, down here, this is my ground cherries, and I'm finally getting blooms. Y'all, if you never planted ground cherries, they are delicious. So I've got my ground cherries going. This is my other okra. I planted a cabbage, and let me get this out of here. See, all this, you have to always get the volunteer weeds out of your thing, you know, because they'll eat up your nutrients. So I learned that from the millennial gardener. And as you can see, I have the tool over that because last year, even in the greenhouse, my greens, see how beautiful they look? They were even prettier last year. And I had them in here, and some kind of slug or bug or caterpillar got in here and ate every leaf. I was so hurt. I was so hurt. And they did it like right at the end of summer, just when I thought I was going to have a good green harvest. So this year I put the tool there. So if anything comes, he going to have a hard time getting to them. And then my tomatoes have taken off. So I got my little thing right here. I know it's a mess in here, y'all, but it's a method to my madness. I planted asparagus. One I planted a year and a half ago. This one I planted last year. So it's going to be a while before I get asparagus. I thought I would get it this year because when the plant woke up, it looked like asparagus had come up, but it wasn't. It was just a thing, you know, that was getting ready to sprout the leaves and whatnot. So I'll just let them do what they do. My potatoes, this is my second one. I planted this year. Every plant came up, the ones I planted at the bottom and the ones at the top. I planted these back in March. I came out to the greenhouse. It was still cold here in Michigan, but the snow had melted enough for me to tramp back out here in 20-degree weather and get those potatoes in the dirt. So that's what I did, and they came up accordingly. And then here's all my amendments and stuff. We finally got a tractor supply, y'all. And I'm able to get black cow manure now and chicken manure. So I got some chicken manure. Yep. So this is the greenhouse. And like I said, it's a mess. It's junky, but I'm making it do what it does. Okay, so, and I need to clean it because you can see the weeds and stuff is coming up. Okay, so now we're going to go to the front, and then I'm going to end this video because we are now over an hour. So I went over what I wanted to film, but because this is episode 1, but from here on in, whenever I do an episode, it's going to be themed on whatever. It'll have whatever theme and however many minutes I designate to whatever I'm talking about that day. Yeah, I won't be all over the place like I was today. Okay, so let's go to the front. So this is the side. And I planted last year, I did an African keyhole garden. Okay, this is another flower bed that they did. These came up. So I need to do some cutting over there. And then I see some weeds. Oh, I'm about to get some blooms here. So, yep. So I'm gonna leave the weeds alone for now. I'm gonna let them blooms come up so I don't accidentally get the wrong thing cut. But I am gonna get those volunteer trees cut down on tomorrow. So that's tomorrow's job. Just coming through with the with my cutter and cutting all the brush and stuff. And once I do that, that'll be it for the summer with that. Then I can concentrate on other things. I still need to get my mulch, so I'll be doing that. I threw some seeds out, some flower seeds. They're called Johnny Jump Ups. They won't come until next year. Ooh, and I gotta get this weed right here. Look at that. I mean, that's a big, hold on, y'all. See, when I see stuff like this, I get it right then and there. Okay, and it's still more, so I'll be pulling again. It's you know what? The work never stops. Okay, y'all know, especially y'all with homesteads, but even having a garden, you know, the work never stops. Okay, I planted some shallots this year, and they actually did pretty good. I started them from seed, so I ended up getting like 8 or 9 plants. So they all are doing really good there. That rose bush was in the backyard and I brought it up here. But yeah, I built this little African keyhole garden, and I'm gonna build on it as time goes on and make it higher. And it's not traditional, it's square in shape instead of your traditional circle. Hold on, let me get a full shot of it. Okay, so I put a marigold in there, or is that a mum? I can't remember. I don't know my flowers, y'all, but I just wanted to add some. I put these 2 zinnias in. I started those 2 zinnias from seed, and a sunflower, and then back at the back is some tobacco. My grow club that I belong to, which is a community garden thing, we started seeds in the greenhouse, and they planted tobacco and stuff. So I took a tobacco plant that they were going to put in the compost bin, and it did good. Okay, so I had bushes here up until 2 weeks ago. This whole thing was just full of bushes, and I hated them. So a friend of mine came and got them out for me, and his saw ran out of juice, so he's gonna come back to get that right there. The only thing is that little plumbing thing has stayed visible. So I bought a peonies, and I'm gonna go back and get another one this week, and I'm gonna block that off because the peonies will come back every year and it'll turn into a bush, and they spread, so that will block that off. But for now, it's there. Okay, my favorite flower right there, the Texas bluebonnets. And then I've got these flowers here. All of these are perennials in this bed here. Everything will come back. I found this at Lowe's. They got this little clearance at our Lowe's here in Michigan. They got this clearance thing. If something appears dead, they put it in the clearance. You can pay between $1 and $5, and they had this elderberry bush there, regularly $27, and it was $13. I paid $13 for that. So it was just full of a lot of dead leaves, and then one of the branches was broke on it. And so I cleaned it up, fertilized it. It looks good, don't it? And then I put a few flowers in there along with it, just because I ran out of room. This is my little herb thing right here. So, and I stuck a few flowers in there too, and a zinnia. But I've got basil, chives, oregano, and I think some thyme in there. Okay, and these are my annuals. This is the part of this is from the elderberry that had broke off, and it's doing good. I put it in the water to root it out here. Okay, I planted a tomato out here, and these are all annuals, these flowers here. And I haven't put the mulch down yet, so I'm gonna be filling the mulch in this weekend. Those are my berry bushes. I've got raspberry there, and everything was cut down to the nub. That's just how much it's grown already this season. And I have blooms, so I have to get that netting put over my bushes. But there's raspberry. I have blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, some more ground cherry, and that there, I put some more green beans over there. And then these flowers were left by the former owners. I need to cut this stray tree down right here. My sister bought me that flower there. And then this is that little side area where the second greenhouse is gonna be from the other end. Yep, so, oh, and let me show you one more thing, and then we'll be ending this. I planted another thing of potatoes. Now in this one, I put only 6 potatoes, and they all came up. Yep, I wrote 6 on there. So I only planted 6 potatoes, and every one of them have come up, and I need to heal them some more. And so this will be the first year, because I've planted potatoes for the past 2 years, and every year either the potatoes would be teeny tiny, no big ones, or the plants would just die off real quick. I was doing something wrong. But this time I followed some of those videos, and I followed what they said to do. I did it, and all of them seem to be doing well. Over here, these are my grapevines. I really messed up on the grapevines last year, but this year it looks as if I may be getting grapes because it's starting to flower. Okay, last year I sat there and loaded it with nitrogen. I put blood meal in there. I put grass clippings. Come to find out, grapes don't like nitrogen. It'll make the leaves grow real big, and they're still growing, so there's still a lot of nitrogen in there. But I found out that they like the bone meal, the phosphorus. So this year I loaded it up with phosphorus, changed a lot of the dirt. I took most of it out and put some new dirt in, and I fertilized them the right way, and they seem to be doing good. They're doing better than last year, because last year all it did was produce big giant leaves, no grapes, no nothing. I didn't even get vines last year. Like right now, you see those vines coming along, and they're starting to wrap into the fence. They didn't even do that last year, and they weren't here last year. Last year I had the grapevines. Everything that you see out here now that's plant-wise were in the greenhouse. I just brought them up front, and I'm gonna keep bringing stuff now that the bushes are gone. I'm going to keep bringing plants up front. My beds up here, oh yeah, they're gonna be, everything's gonna be garden. Then I have this area here. There used to be a tree here, and so what I'm gonna do is dig that. And I thought about putting a fruit bush there, but I was like, why? I've got enough birds, okay? So I think I'm gonna put a rose bush there, and the only reason is because whenever it gets cut, people be tripping, and it's starting to sink down. So I'm going to just put a rose bush in there, and then put mulch around it, and be done with it, because it looks horrible. Yep. And remember, I was telling y'all about my neighbor and the raccoons. Hold on, let me zoom in. See, the guy came and put the trap up, and there it is. See it? I just did that real quick because I don't like to put people's houses on camera. But anyway, yep, so the trap is up on the house now. Hopefully they'll get that thing caught real soon. Okay, so now I'm heading back to the back, and it's time to end this. So I hope you guys have enjoyed spending this hour with me on today. And like I said, future episodes will not be this long unless it's something special. Oh, one thing I forgot to show you. See this right here? That is my vermiculture. It's a worm bin that I started. So let's see how they're doing. Usually I don't see them, but oh, it's a lot of them in there. That I know. And I'm not gonna put my hand through it. Hold on. So I just put it here under the tree. We haven't gotten any rain, so because I was kind of concerned about it getting wet, but that hasn't happened. Oh, and it's doing pretty good. Look at that dirt. Wait, I am gonna put my hand through it. So I've been putting scraps in there too. So the worms have a lot to eat. I don't know where they at. Unless they escape. And if I don't know why they would leave all this food that they getting. So we'll see. But anyway, and I'm getting ready to buy some red wigglers from that guy. I've been just putting my own worms in there that I found, because when I was doing a lot of digging earlier in the season, I found a lot of worms. And then when I fish, whatever I have left over, I'll put in there too. So I know it's a lot of worms in there, but I want to get a big amount of the red wigglers. Okay, so now let's end this where I began it, right here on my little bench. Now I'm out of breath. See, I done too much today. Whew. Okay, so that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the little introduction and the story that I shared with you, and the history and all that. So as time goes on, you'll be seeing over the next few months what's happening around here at the Que-stead. And it doesn't end, because after the season is over with, then comes time for the leaves. And I will be getting a tripod to where I can set the camera up and you can see me work. That's the least I can do. Right now you're not seeing me because I have to hold the phone to record. But anyway, you'll see that in the fall, and then winter you'll get to see, for those of you who don't experience snow and snowstorms, I can let you see that, how we have the winter wonderland here in Michigan. So there's a lot. And then, like I said, fishing. Sometimes you'll see me fishing if I'm out, because that's part of the Que-steading. I've been fishing and stocking up fish in the freezer for the winter. You know, there's only certain times of the year you can fish here in Michigan. People ice fish, but not me, okay? I ain't getting out on no ice. But, you know, I have friends that get out on the ice, but they're not giving out any fish. So I like to stock my fish right when as soon as the weather break. I fish usually, last year we fished Christmas Day. My friend and I, they weren't biting, but we just went out there because the water wasn't frozen. So we went out there just to say we fished on Christmas and froze, okay? But usually the fish quit biting here right around October-ish. So, and the spawn ends and all that. Then the water starts freezing over. Once you get the little glaze over the top, that's it. They quit biting. But I learned a trick. I was told that if you buy an ice fishing rod when the water gets cold, because the line is so thin, the fish will bite. They just won't bite off of a regular line once it gets cold like that. So I'm going to try that little trick and see if I can catch some fish in November this year. But anyway, so that's about it. So I'm getting ready to end it here. Otherwise, I'll talk another hour. So I thank you all for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like, subscribe, and share. And I would be most appreciative to you. Like I said, this isn't for me, this isn't for a living. It's because this is what I like to do. And if I can help one person, then I've done my good deed for the day. So anyway, I'm gonna sign off here, and I will be back shortly to see you. I think I'm gonna wait until I get the tripod, and once I get the tripod and get that set up, then I'll be back and I'll start more episodes. I'll have to decide what days I will present a video to you, probably on Mondays and Sundays, or you know, or maybe midweek, something like that. But I'm gonna try to devote 2 videos a week to you. So we'll see how that works out. Yep. But anyway, thank you guys for watching once again, and may God bless you all, and keep on growing your food. Bye-bye.